Hello again, everyone. This is Andrew Conley with Clean Fuels Ohio. Thanks again for joining us today for this biofuel conversion webinar. We'll be talking today about the Optimus Technologies biofuel conversion system and the success that some of their customers, particularly the City of Pittsburgh, have experienced in deploying the system. Before we get started, just wanted to give you a brief overview of Clean Fuels Ohio and what we'll be speaking about today. So Clean Fuels Ohio is a U.S. Department of Energy affiliated nonprofit. Our focus is helping fleets improve their economic and environmental performance by deploying a range of alternative fuel and efficiency technologies. We are fuel and technology neutral and work across a broad spectrum of commercially available fuels and technologies to help fleets save money and improve their environmental performance. We have a number of sister organizations who are similarly set up to Clean Fuels Ohio. These are U.S. Department of Energy Clean Cities coalitions. So for any of you outside of Ohio, we'll have more information on local organizations that you can contact in your state or specific city. Again, our goal is to work with fleets to help them improve their economic and environmental performance. And today, I'm pleased to be joined here on this webinar by Optimus Technologies to talk about their cost-effective biofuel conversion system that allows fleets to save money and reduce emissions. With that, I'd like to introduce Colin Hewler, who is the CEO of Optimus Technologies, to discuss their platform further with us.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. I'll briefly cover today's agenda and then walk through system information and further details of our conversion technology. We will talk briefly with Grant Irvin, the Sustainability Officer from the City of Pittsburgh. We'll walk through economic and environmental benefits of implementing 100% biodiesel and biofuels in your fleet. Next, we'll move on to an opportunity in partnership with Clean Fuels Ohio that is called the Midwest Drives Initiative. This is an initiative that allows fleets the opportunity to demo alternative fuel technologies, including the Optimus Technologies vector system. For those that aren't located within the Midwest Drives target areas, also talk a little bit about additional grants and incentives that might be available on a national level. Lastly, we'll close out with some upcoming events in the Ohio and Midwest region. Again, my name is Colin Hewler, and I'm CEO of Optimus Technologies. Optimus Technologies builds biofuel conversion systems specifically for medium and heavy-duty commercial and municipal fleets. Our technology enables users to reduce fuel costs, reduce emissions, and do so in a manner that is very easy. On average, our technology, utilizing a wide range of biofuels that are currently available in the market, can save a fleet on average 10 to 20% over traditional diesel. From an emissions standpoint, there are both substantial tailpipe and life cycle emissions, most notably being a greenhouse gas emission reduction of over 80% versus baseline diesel. Lastly, the technology is very easy to implement. Only traditional installations occur over the course of a day, at most 2. The systems never inhibit the vehicle's ability to operate on traditional diesel, which enables the trucks to be completely flexible in terms of fueling operations and operational logistics. With that, talk a little bit about the background of Optimus. We were founded in 2010, and we're based here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The past 5 years for us have been primarily in research and development. We have deployed a pilot project in 2013 with the City of Pittsburgh, and we achieved EPA approval in May of 2014. We are the first and only EPA-approved biofuel conversion technology for the medium and heavy-duty truck market. And with that, I'll step into an overview of the conversion system. Again, our technology is a retrofit device. It goes onto existing diesel engines, and we're not inhibiting the vehicle's ability to operate on traditional diesel at any point. In the diagram here, you can see located in the back corner is the diesel fuel tank. On applications that traditionally have saddle configurations, we will replace one of the fuel tanks with a dedicated biofuel tank. In applications that only have a single tank, we can do a number of options, including adding an additional biofuel tank or creating a larger dual-chambered tank that houses both the diesel and the biofuel within one tank in separate compartments. Moving from the vector fuel tank, we go to the vector manifold. This vector manifold is the core of the mechanical system, which processes the fuel on board, making it suitable for use regardless of temperature or climate operations. The entirety of the system is controlled by an electronic control unit, or ECU, which is installed in conjunction with the auxiliary system. This ECU not only controls all of the parameters and system operations of the vector, but also ties into the engine's ECU and reads passive data from the engine performance and engine control modules. The entire system comes together at the user interface, which is the primary point of interaction between the vector system and the driver. The vector technology is completely automated and requires no hands-on user interaction. That said, the user interface serves two primary functions. The first is as a fuel gauge for the vector fuel tank. This gives the operator a dedicated fuel gauge for the biofuel system, which enables us to retain the dash fuel gauge for the traditional diesel tank. Secondly, the user interface serves to indicate to the driver which system the vehicle is currently operating on. As I mentioned earlier, the vector system is a completely automated device. However, we are giving the driver the ability to see which system is currently engaged. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Lastly, the electronic control unit, during its operation, is collecting a wide range of data and performance analytics. This information is stored on board the vehicle and transferred to a remote application when the truck arrives back at its home base. The performance analytics and metrics are then post-processed and provided to the user via a web application. This web application has a number of user profiles, including Fleet Manager or Technician, enabling users to specifically see data or information relevant to their roles within the organization. At this point, I'd like to briefly turn it over to Grant Irvin, Sustainability Manager for the City of Pittsburgh.
Thanks, Colin. I appreciate it. So my role today, I wanted to explain a little bit about the work that we've done with Optimus and the vector system here in the City of Pittsburgh. So our journey in sustainability has really started particularly around the role that we have in my office in creating the city's climate action plan. And the work that we have founded there is really designed to look internally and externally with regards to sustainability and the applications of sustainability across the city's operations platform. We operate 300 facilities. We have 1,100 plus vehicles in our fleet and 3,000 employees. The Optimus project has been a great example of the city really being a laboratory to test, improve, and then deploy new technologies that help us, one, with our sustainability, but also improve the service that we give to the residents of the city of Pittsburgh. We started with Optimus back in the spring of 2013, where we tested and outfitted 5 heavy-duty trucks, typical to the one that you see there in the picture, that are used for plowing, hauling, and heavy-duty applications. So these trucks are used as snow plows for hauling salt, for asphalt and road repairs, and for leaf and debris removal. The system utilized based on animal fat biofuel and was able to survive 2 of the harshest winters that we have on recent records. So we were able to survive the polar vortexes of 2013 and 2014. One of the key things that we see in the operations is that, if you can go to the next slide, is that we have been able to make an offset in our diesel usage by 80 to 90%. So using the runtime hours, about 91 or a little over 90% of our operations with those heavy duty trucks have been using the biofuel that we've used through the Optimus technology. The other breakdowns include just the warm-up period, about 7%, and 2% of conventional diesel on the initial startup of the vehicle. With the success of the pilot program, we've been able to evaluate and test the product, which has given us great confidence in expanding the use of the Vector system to an additional 20 vehicles. So we've now started to move the system into our refuse trucks. And you see there in the photo, which is one of our recycling haulers that we have. And what's interesting to note, the other thing that the Optimus project has enabled us to do is to begin to think about our fleet more holistically. So following the completion of the pilot program, we also engaged with local Pittsburgh-based foundation, the Heinz Endowment, to undertake the first fleet baseline inventory within the city of Pittsburgh. So looking at our fleet in its entirety in terms of the different types of fuels, operational needs, and emissions that are produced by our 1,100 plus vehicles. And one of the things that we found is those refuse haulers that you see there in the picture, as well as some of those heavy duty trucks, are our largest emitters of PM 2.5, carbon dioxide, NOx, and SOx. And this has demonstrated, again, the value and benefit from an air quality perspective with regards to the Optimus technology. So we've added a 5,000 gallon biofuel storage and dispensing station in our 29th Street garage, which allows us to fuel the 25 vehicles. And has also allowed us to see kind of ongoing reductions through the life cycle in terms of the emissions reductions per year in carbon dioxide and other particulate matter. Next slide, please. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that folks may have for me from the City of Pittsburgh.
So for attendees, please type in any questions to the chat box, and we will repeat those for the audience and ask those to Grant. So if you have any questions, please type those in the chat box. While we're waiting for those questions, Grant, this is Andrew from Clean Fuels, Ohio. Could you speak a little bit about the specific biofuel that you're using at the City of Pittsburgh?
Yeah, so we've used we've ranged from a B20 to a B100 grade, locally sourced biofuel that we've procured with the assistance of Optimus through a couple of existing relationships that they've had.
Great. And I guess for Colin, if you're still there while we're waiting for any questions, the Optimus system works with a range of biofuels. Can you speak to that range in addition to the fuel that the city of Pittsburgh is using?
Yeah, that's correct. The technology is designed to be fuel neutral, and as such, we're able to utilize a wide range of feedstocks for the biofuel. Specifically, the city of Pittsburgh has been utilizing a choice white grease, which is an animal fat-based biodiesel. The fuel itself is made from recycled renderings from the food processing industry. The technology is able to utilize feedstocks such as distillers corn oil, soybean oil, recycled cooking oil, and animal fats. The traditional perspective on biodiesel products is that the lower cloud point feedstocks are preferred because of gelling and filter plugging issues during cold weather operations. That, however, is not the case with the Optimus system. Due to the operation and nature of the system, the vehicle is being started and shut down with traditional diesel, as was seen in the breakdown of operations previously on the slide with the city of Pittsburgh example. So approximately 7 to 10% of the time, the system's going to be operating on traditional diesel as the engine warms up. I'll go into further details on the system operation and benefits and cold weather performance in the next few slides. However, due to scheduling conflict, we do want to open up any questions to Grant while he's able to be with us.
Yeah, so we have three.
I apologize because I have a meeting with our own Clean Cities Coalition here with Rick Price at 1 o'clock to talk about anti-idling.
No problem, Grant. We appreciate you joining us. We do have 3 questions currently in the queue for you. The first is a question as to the price of biodiesel. The questioner is asking, is biodiesel typically more expensive per gallon than diesel? And are you in fact able to save money on the biofuel that you are purchasing?
I would love that to Colin. I mean, actually, we've seen it as a cost-neutral solution, but Colin, you could probably give greater detail on actual price points.
Yeah, absolutely. The leveraging that we're able to provide to end customers allows us to guarantee a cost savings of at least 10%. Obviously, as the petroleum markets fluctuate, and right now we see a substantial plummet in diesel prices, the cost delta does shrink a bit. However, we are able to ensure customers have minimum cost savings of at least 10% when sourcing through Optimus. And as the petroleum markets continue to ebb and flow, the cost delta for biofuel versus traditional diesel can increase to as much as 20 or 25% when we see $4 or $4.50 per gallon diesel.
I mean, one thing I could talk to with regards to fuel sourcing, those, particularly with the types of vehicles that we've started to use, is that we like the idea of having a resilient system, and the idea of having local source fuel, can help us minimize any types of potential disruptions in the fuel supply chain that might exist, which also guided our decisions to test the use of the technology on some of our vehicles that are used during cold weather operations.
Yeah, so with that, Grant, the next question is, what are the City of Pittsburgh's plans regarding further scaling of this technology?
Sure. So one of the things that we've done, I mentioned the fleet baseline analysis that we conducted, and what that has enabled us to do is to start to look at different avenues with regards to opportunities for alternative fuels. Most recently, in fact, last week, we completed a research study with Duquesne University's SMBA program, where we charged them with, basically evaluating opportunities for the city to both install infrastructure as well as look at alternative fuel sourcing methods. And, biofuels is something within our fleet that we would look to expand in addition to electrification and potential use of CNG and some other vehicles. But the thing that we've found in all of our research is, trying to match fuel type, the best fuel type with the correct vehicle type. So now that is a part of our evaluation going forward in terms of procurement. So in short, it's something that we would look to add more of.
Great. And I should clarify from the Clean Fuels Ohio side that this system does work with a range of biofuels. So for any specific biofuel, we're talking about a specific feedstock and process of production. So when it comes to ASTM specified biodiesel, technically no conversion system is needed for the traditional biodiesel product, usually made from soybean oil or other plant oils or animal fats. Although you don't traditionally see animal fat-based biodiesel, which is much more cost-effective in the north here because of gelling, clouding, and other cold weather issues, which the Optimus system overcomes. But in addition to that, the Optimus system can also run on vegetable oils, straight vegetable oils, and other waste vegetable oil products if appropriately handled, which we'll touch on further throughout the rest of this presentation. With that, I think that wraps up the questions specifically to Grant, unless anyone has a final question to ask right now. Any unanswered questions we can hold off to the end that are specific to Optimus that they can answer from the technical standpoint.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank Grant for taking time to participate with us. And with that, I will move on to the remaining portion of the presentation.
Thanks, everyone.
This image here clarifies a little further the previous diagram that was displayed. This is a real-world example of the retrofit addition. We can see in the lower left-hand corner the biofuel tank. Again, this tank is added as a replacement unit for a traditional diesel tank that was mounted in that location. This fuel tank enables operation on 100% biofuel. There's a heating element which protrudes in the center of the tank. And in the mirrored location on this vehicle, the original diesel tank remains. In applications where a larger fuel tank would be required, this tank could be expanded from a 50-gallon to a 70-gallon capacity and would protrude further to the right-hand side where the battery box is located. Next, moving to the right, we have the Vector ECU. The ECU modules are mounted within the battery compartment. These modules are ruggedized and waterproof to ensure trouble-free operation. However, for convenience, these are mounted within the battery box on this configuration, which enables easy access for both installation and programming. Moving further to the right, the Vector manifold. This is the primary processing module within the mechanical system. I'll walk through the operation of the vector system in further detail. As mentioned previously, the engine will start on traditional diesel or whatever blend of biodiesel is typically being utilized. With the City of Pittsburgh, their diesel fuel is replaced by a B5 or a B20 fuel. That fuel is utilized to start the engine and circulate hot engine coolant throughout the vector system. As is shown in the image on the left, hot engine coolant circulates through both the vector processing module, which acts as a heat exchanger, as well as the fuel tank. The next image here is a view into a fuel tank with the fuel level sending unit and in-tank heat exchanger shown. The fuel here is the animal fat-based biodiesel being utilized in the City of Pittsburgh, and it shows that in the tank during cold weather operations, on startup of the vehicle, these fuels can be completely gelled and not impact the performance or operation of the vehicle. These animal fat-based fuels are solid at a temperature between 35 and 40 degrees. However, because the vehicle is being started on the low biodiesel blend or traditional diesel fuel, the gelling of this fuel does not impact the operation of the vehicle. As the system warms up, the operation transitions from traditional diesel to a recirculation or warm-up mode. That not only is heating the fuel tank and the processing module, but circulates fuel throughout the entire system so that when the biofuel system is engaged, the fuel has been adequately heated. This operation is the biofuel warm-up and processing module. The module pumps fuel from the tank to the engine and back, enabling 100% of the system to be heated prior to engagement. During this time, the electronic control unit is monitoring biofuel temperature, pressure, flow parameters, as well as various engine and ECU parameters to ensure the biofuel system does not engage during a time when ideal operating conditions have not been met. Once the software completes these safety checks and cycles through the variety of warm-up parameters, the system switches from traditional diesel or your low blend biodiesel to 100% biofuel. This occurs at any point throughout the operation of the vehicle. It can occur at idle, it can occur under load, or during deceleration. This process, again, happens completely automatically and requires no feedback or interaction from the driver. In the event that any of the system parameters and operational conditions have not been met, the vector system will not engage. These images show a brief view of what the driver is able to see in the cab. The user interface primarily serves two functions. The first is to provide the driver with a fuel level gauge for the biofuel tank. As can be seen here, this vehicle is operating on a full tank of biofuel. Lastly, in the bottom, the system operational status is on biofuel. That system status will change between biofuel, biofuel warm-up, and diesel, depending on the operating conditions. In the event that the driver did not have a full tank of fuel and was operating on anything less than 10%, the system itself would not engage. The vehicle would continue to operate on traditional diesel. This ensures that the vehicle is not left inhibited in any way by the lack of refueling on the biofuel side, or in an over-the-road application, the lack of an available pump for the biofuel. Vehicle will monitor and self-adjust based on these parameters. Typical operation of the system is between 85 and 90% on 100% biofuel. This is because in normal working conditions, the vehicle started at the beginning of the day, will operate on traditional diesel for between 5 and 10 minutes, and then continue operating on 100% biofuel the remainder of the operation. One item we have not touched on yet, but I will address now, is when the vehicle is operating on biofuel and the vehicle itself is shut down. Traditional operation, the driver would get into the vehicle, they would start the engine and drive the vehicle as normal. Once the conditions have been met, the biofuel system will engage. The system again will operate for the entirety of the day. At the end of the day, the driver will pull into their parking space, turn the key to the engine off. At that time, the ECU will recognize that the vehicle is being shut down. It will continue to operate the vehicle for an additional minute to 2 minutes while the driver remains in his seat, and the engine will switch back to running traditional diesel and purge the injectors, the fuel pump, and the system of the biofuel. This enables a clean start on traditional diesel the next morning. These, in concert with a number of other parameters throughout the system and the system heating capabilities, enable us to operate 100% biodiesel regardless of outside temperatures and performance conditions. As I mentioned previously, the electronic control unit is collecting data within the vehicle, within the vector system, and of the operation of the system. Each vehicle has its own profile, which can be configured through the web dashboard. This enables vehicle-specific tracking, as well as operational maintenance or logistical notations on a per vehicle basis. The data from these vehicles is collected and aggregated and available to be viewed in both the aggregate or on a per vehicle basis. These graphs can present information to the user such as CO2 reduction, tailpipe emission reduction, overall system runtime, as well as a per gallon vehicle displacement number to understand how much diesel is being replaced throughout the use of the systems. There's 6 months of historical data that's available on demand, as well as yearly and daily reports that can be provided to the fleet user or technician. We'll transition now talking about the ideal case of the vector application. We see ideal use of the system in municipal and commercial fleets that are typically return to base or have limited numbers of refueling operations. This enables 100% biofuel to be provided to the end customer at a dedicated refueling point. On the municipal side, refuse and plow operations, which consume the largest number of gallons of diesel fuel, are typically best suited. On the commercial side, regional haulers and heavy use vehicles, again, are the best case use scenarios for this type of technology. As Andrew mentioned previously, our technology is designed to utilize a wide range of various fuels. Although biodiesel is considered a drop-in fuel, It presents a number of logistical challenges for use at 100% concentration in fleets that operate in cold weather climates and are concerned about performance and logistical operations. The Vector system eliminates these challenges that are typically associated with pure biodiesel. Additionally, the Optimus system has been approved by the EPA for use with a wide variety of high viscosity renewable diesels. These are fuels that are traditionally made from pure vegetable oils or recycled cooking oils and animal fats. Optimus has worked with and developed a large network of approved fuel providers, and we work with the end customer to source fuel from a variety of locations. This allows the most competitive market pricing to be provided to the end user. Recapping the value proposition, the technology enables a wide range of fuels which allow operators to reduce fuel costs between 10 and 20%, reduce life cycle greenhouse gas emissions over 80%, enable year-round use of biofuels rather than traditionally deployed 5% or 20% blends. These fuels are locally sourced and sustainable, and Optimus provides the total solution of both fueling networks, fueling stations, as well as the vehicle technology. As discussed previously, Optimus can guarantee a 10% cost savings versus the current retail price of diesel. As the markets fluctuate, this price can increase or decrease, increasing as much as 20%. However, over the course of time, the average of fuel savings a user will see is above 10%. From an emission reduction standpoint, here's a quick scenario of what a fleet using 100,000 gallons of fuel per year might see utilizing the Optimus system on B100. Most notably is the substantial reduction in PM. This is, on average, a 50% reduction over baseline diesel. This PM reduction number is relevant to vehicles both equipped with DPF systems and without. In applications that currently have diesel particulate filters, the Optimus system enables a reduction of 50% engine out emissions, which provides longer service intervals on the diesel particulate filter and substantially lessens the burden of cycle from the DPF. The overall life cycle greenhouse gas emissions in a CO2e are presented here. Again, these are approximately 80% reduction over baseline diesel and can achieve substantial reductions over the traditional B5 or B20 blends. Optimus provides not only the fuel systems, the fueling stations, but we also offer maintenance, support, and performance data. The image here shows the City of Pittsburgh refueling station prior to upgrade for the Optimus project. The station on the left was pure diesel. The station on the right is an efficiently heated dual chamber biofuel tank that dispenses both diesel and biofuel and has a total volume storage capacity of 5,000 gallons. Let's transition now and talk a little bit more about some of the specific opportunities that are available to fleets within the Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan regions. The Midwest Drives Initiative is a project of Clean Fuels Ohio in partnership with the Department of Energy and other Clean Cities coalitions. Optimus Technologies is proud to be a partner in this project, and it enables end users to reduce the barriers to alternative fuel vehicle usage by offering demonstration and system validation. The Midwest Drives Initiative benefits participating fleets by enabling them to deploy real-world alternative fuel vehicles within their fleet with low or no risk. There's a large education component of the system and of the project, which enables fleets to be eligible for alternative fuel incentives and financing. And it allows the fleet to displace petroleum usage in a very rapid and low-risk manner. Specifics to the Midwest Drives program and Optimus's partnership with Clean Fuels Ohio, we're offering a 6-month pilot duration. These pilot projects are available for 2 vehicles with no upfront cost. The Optimus solution would be installed on 2 vehicles for an end user. The program would include the Vector system, Vector installation, driver and technician training, as well as a refueling station that is suitable for the 2 pilot vehicles. This program is available only to Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan fleets. Vehicles must be registered within those states in order to be eligible for the no-cost pilot program. During this 6-month pilot program, performance data will be collected on the vehicles in partnership with Clean Fuels Ohio, Vision Fleet, and the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. Case studies of deployment will be built and deployed as an educational component of the program. At the conclusion of the 6-month pilot, fleets have the opportunity to purchase the Vector units for a reduced cost or have the Vector units removed from their fleet. Pilot program opportunities exist for fleets that do not qualify for the Drives initiative. These programs are typically a duration of 3 to 6 months. Pilot objectives are identified between Optimus, Clean Cities, and the end user in advance of the deployment. These pilot programs cost $2,500 per vehicle. That $2,500 is credited towards the final purchase price of the system. And with the completion of the pilot program, upon successful reaching of the objectives, the fleet would then commit to purchasing the pilot units. The total system cost for the Vector is approximately $10,000 per vehicle. The pilot fee is roughly 1/4 of the total purchase price. As a next step, fleets that are located within Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan should reach out to either Clean Fuels Ohio or Optimus regarding Midwest Drives. Additional program details and documentation can be provided, as well as an assessment of your current fleet to understand which vehicles would be best suited for deployment. Fleets outside of those regions can reach out directly to Optimus to learn more about our pilot program. The contact information for myself and Andrew is presented here and will be made available to all webinar attendees. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Clean Fuels Ohio to conclude the presentation, talking through some other opportunities that are available, as well as some upcoming events.
Thanks, Colin. Again, this is Andrew Conley with Clean Fuels Ohio. I'm going to be speaking briefly about some grants and incentives that are available here in the state of Ohio, as well as avenues for those outside of Ohio to contact local partners that can provide more details on your state. So as I mentioned at the outset of this presentation, Clean Fuels Ohio is a U.S. Department of Energy Clean Cities coalition. We are one of 87 located throughout the country with coalitions in almost every state in the nation. The link at the bottom of this slide, the Alternative Fuel Data Center otherwise known as afdc.energy.gov, provides full contact information for each local Clean Cities Coalition, who can give you more information about grants, tax credits, and other incentives or demo programs available in your particular state or city. With that, I'm just going to touch on the grants and incentives available within Ohio. So Clean Fuels Ohio has a long track record of success securing grants on behalf of fleets, particularly for deployment of fuels, technologies, and infrastructure. We've worked with state, federal, and local sources to help fleets and partners within the state of Ohio access funding and deploy technologies. As Colin mentioned, we've recently been awarded a grant from the U.S. Department of Energy that allows us to offer vehicle demonstration projects, different vehicles. We currently have 42 different units committed to the project, of which Optimus is one of the main partners, to provide free demos throughout Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana. And as Colin said, you can contact me directly about that opportunity, and I'd be happy to provide you with more information. For fleets who operate 65% or more of the time within Ohio, Ohio does have a grant program available which would fund the Optimus conversion system and other clean vehicle and alternative fuel systems. This program is called the Ohio EPA Diesel Emission Reduction Grant. It's designed to fund vehicle retrofits, vehicle engine repowers or conversions, and vehicle replacements, essentially anything that substantially reduces the emissions from existing diesel fleet vehicles. Again, vehicles have to operate 65% or more of the time in Ohio, but there is $20 million to be released through this program in calendar year 2015. And then within the state budget, another $10 million per year for both the 2016 and 2017 calendar years. In addition to that program, for fleets in Ohio, there is some pending legislation at the state level that can offer additional grants and incentives. House Bill 176. This bill was previously introduced as 336 in last year's legislative cycle. It unanimously passed the Ohio House, but did not come to a vote in the Ohio Senate due to election year politics. However, it has broad support within the state legislature, and we expect its passage when the legislature resumes its session in September. This bill would bring into place a grant program that would issue up to $500,000 in grants per public fleet, as well as tax credits for private businesses designed to cover 50% of the alternative fuel, cleaner fuel system, either conversion price or 50% of the vehicle premium price, based on the gross vehicle weight rating. So for more information on that, feel free to contact Clean Fuels Ohio. I also wanted to make mention of an upcoming event that we have here in Ohio. We are hosting the Midwest Green Fleets Forum and Expo September 23rd and 24th here in Columbus. This is a two-day event that will focus on fleet managers and a wide range of expert presenters and solutions to save fleets money and help improve environmental performance. We have a number of sessions as well as energy tours throughout the 2 days of the conference, and we'll also be presenting our Ohio Green Fleets Awards, and the 100 Best Fleets organization will also be on hand to present the top 50 green fleets in North America. So we hope you're able to attend this event. More information can be found at midwestgreenfleets.com as well as cleanfuelsohio.org. With that, we're happy to take additional questions, and I know that some questions have been asked during the presentation, so I'll just start rolling through these questions in order, and folks who have additional questions, feel free to type those in. Colin covered, we had an additional question on further discussion of the fuel cost savings. I think Colin covered that with Optimus's guarantee and different fuel providers that they're able to connect customers with. We had an additional question regarding, can the biofuel tank itself be used for regular diesel? In terms of, I believe, heating regular diesel was the context of the question. Colin, can you speak to that?
Yes, so the traditional system can be utilized for regular diesel in the event that it's needed. This would typically be on a rare occasion. It's not generally a good idea to consistently heat diesel fuel. That is not, however, the case with the biofuels we're talking about here. Those tend to operate and perform better at elevated temperatures. In the event that a customer would be interested in consistent use of diesel in the biofuel system, such as an over-the-road hauler that would be filling at home base and then possibly sourcing diesel on the road, and then refilling with biofuel at a final destination or once returning to base. The Vector system has the ability to regulate the heat to the fuel tank and the processing module, such that we can enable a diesel-only mode with the addition of one valve that would circulate the coolant system on and off. Again, that would be an upgrade to the traditional system that's deployed. However, is entirely feasible. And when we do a fleet analysis and a vehicle breakdown, we would work with the end user to identify what the best Vector configuration would be.
Great, thank you, Colin. We had another question regarding how were the emissions estimates generated? Were they generated from tailpipe emissions tests, other tests? Can you speak more to the emissions baselines that you presented?
Yeah, so we've conducted a number of emissions testing and analytics projects. The numbers specifically presented today are an average of literature values, and they echo results that we've seen on a per engine basis. In that regard, we have done portable emission measurement analysis in a 1065 compliant manner through independent and verified laboratories. We've also conducted engine dynamometer testing, again, at independent laboratories in test cells, measuring in EPA compliant and validated manners. We do have engine-specific emissions performance that can be made available depending on the circumstances.
Well, thanks for that, Colin. We have an additional question on how many Optimus units ballpark are currently deployed.
In addition to the 25 units in operation at the City of Pittsburgh, there are approximately 30 units that are in use for off-road applications, and those are construction equipment and heavy equipment operations. The Vector technology is been in development for the past 5 years and only as of 2014 has been made publicly available.
Thank you. And our final question currently is, do we plan to post the presentation and webinar? The answer to that is yes. Clean Fuels Ohio will send links to all attendees for both the recording of the webinar and the presentation. And we will also post those links to the cleanfuelsohio.org website under the events section. We can remain on the line for a couple more minutes to make sure no other questions are out there. But thank you for those who have participated. We appreciate your attendance and are still on the line to answer any further questions. With no additional questions coming in, I'd like to thank Colin and Optimus for their participation, as well as Grant Irving and the City of Pittsburgh. Again, I'm Andrew Conley with Clean Fuels Ohio. Thank you all for participating. We look forward to hopefully your advanced participation in the Midwest Drives initiative, as well as hoping to see you at the Midwest Green Fleets Forum. Thanks again, and we'll be in touch.